In hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, left ventricle is not hypertrophied uniformly. The name says hypertrophic, so you might think that hypertrophy may be present uniformly in the septum, apex, in the free wall of the left ventricle, but it is not. It is asymmetrical. Hypertrophy might be in the septum only, or might be in the free wall only, or in the apex only. If it is uniformly hypertrophied, then it might be due to other causes, like athlete's heart. When athletes do training for long period of time, their heart hypertrophies because of the increased demand of oxygen to his body tissue. Similarly, in long-standing hypertension, left ventricle hypertrophies uniformly. In aortic stenosis also there can be uniform left ventricular hypertrophy. So the main thing that we should remember about hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is that it is not uniformly enlarged, it is asymmetrically hypertrophied. Hypertrophy, as I told earlier, it might be in the septum or apex or in the free wall, anywhere might be. In the septum also it is not whole septum is diffusely enlarged. Upper part of the septum may be enlarged, or upper part may be normal, lower part of the septum may be enlarged. I mean hypertrophied. What I am telling, enlarged means hypertrophy, right? So a person may have symptom or might not have symptom. Let's say if the hypertrophy is in the free wall, he may be asymptomatic because there is no LVOT, no outlet obstruction from left ventricle. Or if lower part of the septum is hypertrophied, again there may be no obstruction. But if upper part of the interventricular septum is hypertrophied, then when left ventricular contracts, then the outlet becomes narrowed because the anterior leaflet of the mitral valve close to the outlet, and it further narrows the outflow. So there is increased left ventricular outflow tract gradient. So if there is decreased cardiac output, brain cannot get perfusion and there can be pre-syncope, syncope. Right? And generally these types of person have a family history of sudden cardiac death, because this occurs due to some genetic mutation. There are variety of genetic mutations that can lead to HCM, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Why I am telling HCM? Because it might be obstructive or might not be obstructive as well. It is not always obstructive, it is not always HOCM. It might be just hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. But if there is hypertrophy anywhere else, in the apex, in the free wall, it is not relevant so much. But when it becomes obstructive pattern, when the upper part of the septum is hypertrophied, then definitely we have to intervene with medicine, with beta blocker, or if beta blocker, calcium channel blocker do not help, then alcoholic septal ablation or surgical reduction of the septum. So how does beta blocker or calcium channel blocker help? So as I told earlier that when the left ventricular contracts, then the outflow tract narrows further due to approximation of the anterior leaflet to the outflow tract. When you give beta blocker or diltiazem, verapamil, then the contractility reduces, and when the contractility of the heart reduces, there is increased blood in the left ventricular cavity, and that prevents or decreases the approximation of the anterior mitral leaflet to the septum. When the left ventricular cavity or left ventricle contracts, the septum also contracts, right? And it approximates with the anterior leaflet of the mitral valve. But with beta blocker, this contractility is reduced and this cannot approximate. So there is decreased obstruction. If there is decreased preload, like if patient has dehydration, then also it might precipitate syncope, because there is low volume in the left ventricular cavity, and low volume in the left ventricular cavity means there is increased chance of the approximation of the septum with the outflow tract and anterior leaflet of the mitral valve. What changes you see in ECG? The changes depends upon which part of left ventricle is hypertrophied. So there are variety of changes, like you might see T-wave inversions or Q-wave, dagger shaped Q-waves. This is very popular, right? Dagger shaped Q-waves is specifically seen in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So in echo, what helps you in diagnosis of this condition? So you will see asymmetrical septal hypertrophy. Upper part of the septum might be hypertrophied compared to lower part, and when you measure the widest part, it is more than 15 mm. So if you see any part of the left ventricle wall is more than 15 mm, but other part is less than that, 10 mm, 12 mm, then it suggests you there is asymmetrical hypertrophy. You also measure left ventricular outflow tract gradient, that suggests you that there is outflow tract obstruction, and left ventricular cavity is decreased. The dimension of the LV cavity is decreased. It is less than 54 mm. If you measure it, it is less than 54 mm. But in athlete's heart, that might be increased because of the long term training. There is increased preload, and that leads to increase in the dimension of the LV cavity. But in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, it might be normal or it is decreased. So it is less than 54 mm. And since the left ventricular cavity is decreased, what happens that there is abnormal diastolic filling, like, right? Abnormal diastolic relaxation you can also see in echocardiography, but in athlete's heart there is no abnormal diastolic relaxation. Another point, when the left ventricular cavity is decreased, what happens that the blood regurgitates back into left atrial cavity, and that leads to mitral regurgitation. And the chronic mitral regurgitation can lead to increase in the left atrial cavity. So left atrial enlargement is seen in hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, but it is not seen in athlete's heart, right? So these are some of the points that helps you differentiate between HOCM and athlete's heart